what is life like for one of these hamsters?
They just run back and forth, gathering stuff, putting it in their cheek pouches. They have a reaction instinct to like, so to us, they are definitely adorable, like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. But in reality, they are not adorable in their personality at all. Don't let those cheeks deceive you. They are fierce. They create little trails through the grass. So you can see their little like hamster highways effectively.
Yeah. Did you move to Vienna to film the hamsters? Am I getting that right?
When I was a student, I found out that there was hamsters in Vienna. And I came for 2 days because that was all I could afford to film them. And I could not believe my eyes at all. And 1 year later, I had moved to Vienna. But yes, I uprooted my life for a fat and fluffy rodent.
If you're anything like me, you will have watched a wildlife documentary and seen some incredible animal behavior and just wondered, okay, what is actually going on? You have no idea why this animal is doing this pretty crazy thing. Well, that's what this show is about. My name is Alex and I am not a biologist. In fact, I really have no clue about what's going on in most of the animal kingdom. But on this show, I talk to people who do have a little bit of a clue. But this episode is special because we're talking to someone who is actually out there in the field with these animals, bringing us that incredible footage. So Yaz, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Yaz and I'm a wildlife filmmaker and camerawoman.
That's just an awesome thing to have on your CV. How did you get into that line of work?
Well, I've always loved being outdoors, but like, yeah, always wanted to do film as well, but I didn't necessarily put the two together. I think like a lot of people, I thought that the only career with animals was being a vet, and I'm also not a biologist. But yeah, it just, as soon as I started studying film, all I wanted to do was use it to go and film wildlife. Everything clicked and it just all made sense. And yeah, went out and filmed all the things, anything I could find.
Yeah, we're here to talk about a production you did with Terramata called Wild Vienna. Can you just give a little preview of how you got involved in this project and the sort of clip we're going to watch today?
Yeah, so Wild Vienna is a story about the wildlife of Vienna. It's a very classical, famous, beautiful city, but there's so much wildlife to be found. It's actually incredible what there is hiding. There's owls hunting in the city parks for rats to feed their babies, and there are beavers, and there are ground squirrels, and there are hamsters living in, well, lots of places around Vienna, but most notably the graveyards and cemeteries.
That is so wild to me that they call the graveyards home. So we're gonna watch a clip together of this scene, and I think it'll be pretty clear why this scene is so special as we watch it. All right. Okay, here is the scene from the film, and you can tell us what's going on.
Okay. So this is a scene where the hamsters have gone from being very frivolous, very fun and cute, to suddenly there's a bit of tension in the air, because hamsters are quite naturally, they're loners. They don't like other hamsters. And when they find each other outside of the mating season, they want to fight. They're very jumpy. So one is chasing the other, and now they fight, which happens for only a few seconds. It's quite funny because they're like, when it's in slow motion, but you can't see that with your own eyes.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just crazy because these little hamsters fight really fiercely for a few seconds, and this is filmed at, I think, 800 frames per second or something near to that. So you can really see it in a way that I couldn't see it when I was there filming it, until one of them gives up, runs away, and then the victor is victorious and has said, stay out my territory or whatever, or maybe he just didn't want to see that hamster today.
I've got so many questions about the dynamics of sort of hamster relationships, because that implies to me that there's this depth of hamster society that maybe people don't associate with such a small animal. You think about territorial lion prides and things like that. I think the concept of a wild hamster is pretty strange to lots of people who think of them as the pet store pet, right? Yeah. So what is hamster society like where they're having these sort of fights?
In the cemeteries, they're in quite small areas, whereas in the wild, more in their natural environment is fields. but they are, they've been wiped out, unfortunately, of a lot of their natural environments over the years, like decades and decades, because of intensive farming, roads, construction, all sorts of problems they face. But the cemeteries offer them this like sanctuary where they don't have to worry about those problems. They're safe in the confines of these walls. But there's a lot of hamsters there, so they have much smaller territories. And this means that they're gonna bump into each other a lot more than they would in their natural environment. And so, they are adorable. They are so cute. Like you see one, you're like, oh my God, they're so cute. But then they're actually really, really fierce. And as soon as they will see another hamster, they'll probably run off. But if one's feeling a bit bold, maybe it wants some food in that territory, maybe it's just exploring, whatever, then if it goes in, then there can be a fight. And
What is the food that they're fighting for in the cemetery? Like, what actually are they eating? Is it like flowers and like offerings?
They eat Turkish hazelnuts that fall from the trees in the cemetery. They eat and gather grass for their nesting material. There's berries. Yes, they run onto the graves and they steal flowers. The more fresh, the better. So a gardener will put them out, and potentially within a few hours, there's a hamster that's taken.
Wow.
They're like buried in earth on the grave, and they take them. They'll eat candles sometimes.
Candles? Why candles?
I think because it has really high fat, and they're hibernators, and this is happening in the autumn, pre-hibernation. Tensions are high, food needs to be gathered, and so anything that can give them that boost that they need to build their food supply and survive hibernation.
Yeah. Wow. So tell me about the ecosystem of the cemetery. Like, is it just hamsters that live there alongside people visiting deceased family members, or are there other bits of wildlife? You mentioned owls live in Vienna as well. Like, what else is in the cemetery?
Yeah, so Vienna's cemeteries are quite amazing, what they have, and the most famous is the Central Cemetery, which is famously quoted, I believe, as being half the size of Zurich and twice as fun. That's not my quote, that's someone else's. It's not I come from England, and it's not like how I would view a cemetery typically. There's a museum there, there's walking tours, there's all these famous graves like Beethoven, and all these famous people are buried. And then there is so much wildlife. There are roe deer, red squirrels, there are woodpeckers,
nice.
There's hoopoe nesting there, which we filmed for Wild Vienna as well.
Right.
And then there's hamsters.
So what is life like for one of these hamsters? How does a typical day in the life of a hamster start?
So they're mostly nocturnal. They're active from the afternoon, but sometimes that can be very late in the afternoon. The cemetery closes and people have to leave. And then the hamsters get to do whatever they want. And then they go to sleep again in the morning. And if you're lucky, you might get there before they go to sleep, or they might already have gone to sleep. So really, I just get a window of a few hours of the hamster's day.
And what's it like during that time?
I mean, it's really weird when you're waiting for them to wake up, because you're just sat, there's none, and then slowly one comes up and you first, okay, I'll film this one. And then by the time you realize, oh, they're all up now, and it's just, and then they get up, especially in the autumn, gather food, nesting materials like grass to keep them cozy, and they just run back and forth, gathering stuff, putting it in their cheek pouches, and taking it to their burrows. And they have a series of chambers in their burrows, so they go down, I don't know exactly, but at least a meter down.
For a creature that's this big, that's huge, right?
And they have a storage room, they have a bedroom, they have a toilet, all separate rooms, keep things clean. They might have other rooms, I don't know. Maybe
a guest room, surely, right? A sitting lounge.
And they have 2 entrances usually as well. They're amazing. And and then the storage room, they gather as much as they can. I don't know exactly how much, but a lot. And especially the females, they will wake up throughout the winter and they will need to feed, and then it gives them a great start to spring if they've still got supplies left. Whereas I think the males are a bit more like, let's get fat and let's have a great nap.
Oh, nice.
They gather, but then they're more focused on fatness now.
Do you know how much they can hold in their like iconic cheek?
There's mixed feedback on that. I
Okay.
mean, at least 20% of their body weight, could be half of their body weight. It really depends. I think if we were to try and put it into our, like, it would be like carrying like 8 to 10 kilograms of shopping back for us. Like, they get a lot in there. Their faces are like this and then they're like this.
Wow.
And it's amazing. They just have these shopping bags in their mouth. And I think their cheeks are like dry so that the food doesn't get like, spoiled or anything.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so when they put it in the storage, it's not been like wet or like contaminated. It's amazing.
I could totally see why you're so interested in these animals, and the relationship you developed. Did you move to Vienna to film the hamsters? Is that, am I getting that right?
Ultimately, yes. When I was a student, I found out that there was hamsters in Vienna. And I came for 2 days because that was all I could afford to film them. And I could not believe my eyes at all. And 1 year later, I had moved to Vienna. So I think it showed to me how much wildlife there is in Vienna, which I didn't know. And I thought, if there's hamsters in cemeteries, like, what else could there be? And then, I went exploring with my partner because we moved and we found as much wildlife as we could because we just loved it. And then ended up, the opportunity came up to work on Wild Vienna. And so it felt very like cosmic, everything worked out. But yes, I uprooted my life for a fat and fluffy rodent.
That goes on your CV under wildlife filmmaker, camera woman, uprooted life for the fat and fluffy rodent. I really like that. I'm really interested in like the filming aspect of this. So how did you film them, and how long was the process to sort of film these, and how did you find out about it and first start the filming process?
Yes, we started filming the hamsters in the autumn of 2021,
wow,
which was proper COVID times. This meant that I ultimately had the hamsters all to myself in a way that I've never experienced since. It was quite magical. I got to kind of know the hamsters. They knew me. They would come up really close because it was just me there and the gardeners and the people working on the graves, but it was such low disturbance. It really was so peaceful and lovely, and it was quite a magical experience. And I got to watch them, all of their like mischievous things as they went and like stole the flowers and everything. But the fighting we filmed the following year because that requires all your attention in its own way, because you have to scan the area, and you need to find a hamster that's going to go breach territory effectively. And they don't do that very often. And if they do, it really is a few seconds and then it's done. And you have to hope that you get it in focus. You barely can see it with your own eyes through the camera to check it's in focus. So it's really just hoping. And I think it was over the course of 2 weeks just to get that very small amount of footage, like constantly scanning and being like, right, is this this hamster's sensible. He's turned around. He knows it's not worth it.
A distinguished gentleman.
But yeah.
There's one shot in there that really stood out to me where you shift focus between the two hamsters. That must have been quite a tough one to get, where they're moving so quickly. And that sort of thing. I mean,
I would love to say that I'm a great camera woman, but that's a happy accident ultimately.
Both can be true. Both can be true. You can't sell yourself short.
But yeah, it's great seeing sometimes how things can work in the edit when you're just trying to film what you see and you're not necessarily thinking all the time about how to edit. You just have to react what is happening. And then I was like, oh yeah, that adds such great tension. Like, yeah.
That's great. What's the relationship between a wildlife filmmaker and their subject like?
Yeah, I can only speak obviously for myself. I get very attached to the wildlife I film, and some people, might say that you shouldn't, but for me, it's why I want to do it. It's what makes it joyful and passionate. I love filming and seeing something that you might not see if you were just sat there with your own eyes without the camera to slow things down or to really follow one individual, with a long lens. You can see things you can't see normally, and you definitely get attached to them. And you hope the best, and especially when it's hibernation time, you hope that they have gathered enough and they'll make it through the winter and wake up in the spring. But
oh gosh, yeah, that can be. I think that level of attachment feels hard. I don't know. I think especially when the rules of nature are not necessarily the rules that we want to play by.
Yeah.
You know, as humans, I think it's
Yeah.
we're so obsessed with making things the way we want them to be, and the rules of nature are survival of the fittest. You know,
Yeah.
seasons are hard, food can come and go, and so that's a really interesting sort of relationship that you can have there. Based on what you said about their fields and stuff, are they classified as endangered animals?
Yeah, so unfortunately the European hamster, which we have in Vienna and which we have across Europe, these wild hamsters, they are critically endangered.
Critically.
And there hasn't been a count or update since 2019, so we don't know how they're faring now.
Mm-hmm.
In Vienna, the populations fluctuate every year,
Mm-hmm.
And where we've had peaks in 2022 of like good amounts of hamsters in the cemeteries, these have fallen significantly in 2024. It's really hard to say, but there is a chance they could be extinct in the next 30 years if things don't change, if we can't help them. They're breeding less than they used to. They live for 2 years, and
Wow.
they have to struggle to navigate, you know, this increasingly urban and human world that we've created. They were once a pest, and there was like rewards for shooting them, catching them, whatever. I don't know the like logistics, but you would get rewarded, and now we're lucky with what we have, and yeah.
That's a sad story. So when you went during the pandemic and you saw what it was like there, what's it like now if you were to go?
So now you'll definitely bump into at least a photographer or two. The hamsters have become little celebrities, where they didn't really used to be so much. And, you know, it's great because obviously like a lot of people, they're just so happy to see these hamsters, and, you know, it's crazy to see, it really is. And you just got to remember that you're in a graveyard, a cemetery. Other people are there for different reasons, less happy reasons, and be respectful of that. But, you know, yeah. And sometimes when you visit, you don't necessarily realize that you might see 3 hamsters and think that's a normal amount. Whereas I used to see 30 hamsters in a day. And so to me, I'm like, oh, there's just 3? That's so sad.
Right.
But we don't know. We have to, they have a lot up against them. And
oh, that's tough. You'd hope that a side effect of the attention is, hey, how special is this thing that we have here? And let's do something about it, you know?
Yeah.
When you went to film, what were you bringing with you? Like, what was the gear, the kit that you were bringing to film these? You mentioned that you had a high-speed camera.
Yeah.
What else were you bringing to film?
Yeah, so the high-speed camera was really just for when filming fighting and mating, because this is just such quick moments. But you don't really need that for filming hamsters, other than, these really key behaviors that are over in a few seconds. Using mostly Sony FX6 or a Red V Raptor, which are both great cameras, and a long lens, but sometimes also like just a wide lens, and you can place it somewhere. Be patient. Once you know their routes, you might be able to place a camera somewhere and get them going into burrows or, you know, other behaviors that just so cool, and you can see the background as well. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's just me, camera, lens, and a tripod.
So that's great. I love that so much. I think that people don't realize when they watch a nature documentary or any wildlife footage is how long it takes to film a short sequence.
Yeah.
You know, that most of it is just waiting, because they're not actors. They don't have a call sheet. They don't have a time to be on set. You're just waiting for the right moment, right? And so how long were you filming at the cemetery? Do you know, like in weeks or in days, how long you were there?
I don't know exactly. I mean, over the course of a few years, at least like 50 days at least, but it could be way more than that. I have no idea. But yeah, you do have to be really patient. You have to be really still, not get like excited, because if you move, then you might scare things if you move too quick. You have to understand their roots, understand their personalities. Some are really like scared of everything. Some are really bold. That helps as well. And yeah, you just wait. And if you know, oh, this one runs down this grave, you wait for it and you hope that you get it in focus. And you're like, oh, the hamster did perfectly, but I need to go again. And then you wait. But yeah.
It's interesting because they don't teach you that level of patience at film school or anything, right? Like, how did you learn that skill to really wait for the footage? Do you think that was something you're always good at, or did you learn it?
I don't know. I don't think I necessarily sat there enough in nature to be good at being patient. Like, it's just, you just wait and know that, I'll hope that it will be worth it. And some days it's really not. But you come back and eventually it will be. yeah, it's part of the job is, it's a strange job. You carry a lot of heavy gear and then you sit down for a really long time. Both can be quite painful.
You're inspiring a new generation of people. That's so interesting. I love it. If the fighting is sort of the coolest thing that the hamsters do, what's the weirdest thing that you saw them do while you were there?
They have so much behavior. I have seen them climbing up trees.
Oh, wow.
To get berries.
Aw.
Which was crazy. I turned and there's a hamster this high above the ground, gathering berries. That was pretty cool. I don't think I would ever expect to see a hamster in a tree. And he did it multiple times as well.
Yeah, you can imagine a squirrel or something that you're going, hang on, what are you doing here, So what is a hamster like as an animal? Could you use the words introverted or extroverted to describe them? How are they? What is their personality like?
Yes, so to us, they are definitely adorable, oh my gosh, that's so cute. But in reality, they are not adorable in their personality at all. Don't let those cheeks deceive you. They are fierce, they are loners, they are hardworking, resourceful, ingenious, ultimately. They have made the cemeteries their perfect home by using the resources that are there. Whatever it is, they're if I can eat that, I'm gonna eat it. They're omnivores, so they're very flexible with what they eat. Hence why they can eat candles, flowers, grass, nuts, berries. They love it all. It's they are just very surprising.
Yeah, it sounds surprising. It sounds like you can imagine, maybe this is far-fetched, but how people describe themselves like alpha wolves. Maybe one day people will call themselves alpha hamsters or something, because they're lone wolves, lone hamsters going at it alone. So you say that they're loners. When do they come together? To fight and to mate? Is that really the only time?
Yes, to mate is the main time when they will tolerate each other, which is in the spring. And then they are... the babies grow up pretty quick. I don't know exactly, but I think about 40 days and they can be leaving the nest themselves or that they would be able to be pregnant. They're really quick. They have a short lifespan. They only live for 2 years in the wild. So they got to get going quickly.
It would be really weird if they lived for 2 years and it took them a year and a half to grow up. Yeah, and then they have 6 months of life there.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow. Okay, I didn't realize that was so short. And what's a family unit like? Did you film any families together? Or is it the male comes in for the mating part and then disappears again?
So he's just around, he's just got one job to do and then he's happy to just spend the rest of his time eating, chilling, whatever. They go their separate ways. Mum raises the babies. and then at any other time, if you go into their territory, then they're okay. And then it's high stakes again in autumn because... got to get the food. I've seen a hamster once going into another hamster's burrow to steal its food.
Hamster thieves.
Yeah, which is crazy. So they really don't like each other.
And what is a baby hamster like? Do you at all see them in those sort of 40-ish days that they're sort of growing up?
You can see smaller hamsters peeking out the burrows occasionally, but the mum's very good usually. She's get back down. Not yet, because even though the cemetery can be a sanctuary, there are still predators. There's kestrels, there's foxes. For them, the hamsters are pretty easy pickings. So the babies don't really go very far until they're ready to make their own territory.
So how active is the hamster when it goes out and stuff? Is it mostly hiding from predators, or is it really doing quite a lot in that time?
They're much bigger than you think. Can be up to 35 centimeters, so
35 centimeters?
Yeah, can be up to. That's maximum. Okay. Usually about 30 or below, but they can be ridiculous. Quite big. Also, actually, surprisingly, they're not as obvious to see as you might think because the grass they're in usually is not too high, but high enough that they're covered. They create little trails through the grass, so you can see their little hamster highways effectively. Yeah. They're very quick as well. If they're aware of a predator, and their best reactions are to humans because we are so big, then they will run down the burrows really quick. You'd be surprised. You might see a hamster, be like, oh my gosh, there's hamsters over there. By the time you get near them, they're all gone. But if they don't see the predator, then they might get caught above the ground. They have a reaction instinct to But I've not seen it that much, unfortunately. I have seen hamsters being hunted, and they were not aware. By kestrels.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant by people.
No, by
like,
kestrels.
Trying to find that ancient reward for pests or whatever. Like, that's horrible.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite time of year to try and visit the hamsters in the cemeteries?
Yeah, I like visiting them in the autumn because I just think that hungry hamsters is just hilarious. Like, they're out a lot. In the summer, they might not be out as much because the days can be so hot here, and they might prefer to be out in the cooler nights if there's too many people around. But in the autumn, they don't really have a choice. They need to build those food stores, and so, and the light is beautiful, and and one of the cemeteries gets these little Turkish hazelnuts that fall from the trees, and the hamsters try and figure out how to get into them. So it's really cute. They like use their whole bodies to try and, it's just adorable.
Yeah, I love Vienna in the autumn, so it makes sense that it's a good time. What do you think surprised you the most about the hamsters as you got to know them?
Everything.
Yeah.
At first, I thought, how cute, how amazing that they are thriving in the city. And then the more you get to know anything in the wild, like you understand, like just what they overcome, like how they live their lives, like how important such small things can be. You know, they do need to get that to survive.
So, yes, what's next for you? What other projects are you excited about at the moment? I know that you made a short film called For Dear Life, which is fantastic. So what was that film all about?
Yeah, so For Dear Life is about the fawn rescues that happen across Austria. Basically, unfortunately, roe deer fawns are born in meadows that are mostly used by farmers, and the time that they're born coincides with the first mow, and the grass is really high and the farmers can't see them, and this has been going on for a very long time. But there are these amazing people that commit themselves for months of the year to using drones to find as many fawns as possible, and they will rescue them and keep them safe until the farmer can mow, and then they're released into the wild and reunited back with their mother again.
Wow.
And the fawns, unfortunately, they have their survival instinct naturally because of predators is to push down and to stay still because they're scentless, so a fox or someone won't find them. But that doesn't work with machines, so they can't run. They don't know.
Oh, gosh.
It's horrible, but there's hope. There's hope in the people that commit themselves, that save these fawns, and every life is saved.
And I've seen the part that you shared with me, or I think it's is it a short film or is it a full?
Yeah, it's a short film.
Yeah, I've seen the short film and it broke my heart, and then put it back together again. It's such a sweet film. Is it available to watch online, or is it?
It will be available to watch online, depending on when this.
Yes. We'll definitely include a link in the description and update it when.
So yes, it's available to watch online.
Great. We'll be sure to link it for people to check out because it's a great story. Great. Thank you so much, Yaz. I think this is officially the cutest episode of Not a Biologist we've done so far. Thank you for telling us all about these hamsters and about your work filming wildlife. It's so important, of course, to us at Terra Mata, so that your work helps us share these stories. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for watching Not a Biologist. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can check out the others on our YouTube page now. And if you want to see more from the show and help support our YouTube channel, you can check out our Patreon page. Thank you for watching.